All right, we're on part 3 of the test 2 review. So let's go ahead and get started. When we're solving rational equations, we first find the LCD. The other thing we do is we look for restricted values. Notice x can never be 0 here. So for 6, 3, and x, the LCD would be 6x. Basically, if you look at the multiples of 6, notice the first multiple of 6 times 1, is divisible by 3. And so that is going to be a multiple of 3 and 6. 6 is our least common multiple of the 3 and the 6. And then you want to include any algebraic factors, so we need the x. If you don't use the correct LCD when you multiply to clear fractions, you will not clear the fraction. So if that doesn't happen, you know something's wrong with your LCD. So we're going to multiply by 6x on each of these. So you'll notice 6 divided 3 here is 2. And we'll multiply what's left. 2 times x times 1 is 2x. Minus, notice here, the x's cancel. So it'll be minus 6 times 2, which is minus 12. On this last fraction, 5 6 times 6x, the 6's cancel. And notice you're left with 5x. So a much easier equation to solve. Notice we have x on both sides, so let's get rid of, normally you don't want to get rid of a term when it's the only term on a side, so let's subtract 2x on both sides, and that'll get x on one side only. And you can see that x is going to be negative 4 here. Now that wasn't the restricted value, and so we're okay. Now here, notice if x were negative 4, our denominator would be 0 and we'd be undefined. So first of all, x can't be negative 4. Our LCD is going to be our denominator, which is x plus 4. It's the only one. So we'll multiply each side by x plus 4. And notice what happens here. The x plus 4's cancel. And you're left with x squared equals 16. Well, this is a really great problem for using the square root method. I'm going to rewrite it and take the square root of both sides. Don't forget your plus or minus. You're going to get x equals plus or minus 4. Or we have two solutions, negative 4 and positive 4. The only thing is, remember, we said x can't be negative 4. And so that's a restricted value. We're going to throw that one out. And so our only good answer is the 4, the only solution here. All right, let's look at letter C here. We've got 4 over x plus 2 plus 1 over x minus 2 is equal to 29 over x squared minus 4. So the first thing I'm seeing is a difference of squares here. The x squared minus 4 can be written as x minus 2 times x plus 2. And so you can see our LCD includes both algebraic factors that we've found here, the x plus 2 and the x minus 2. That's all we've got. Now notice x can't be negative 2 or positive 2 because that would cause our denominators to be 0. We'd be undefined. So those are your restricted values. So now let's go ahead and multiply everything by the LCD, which is x minus 2 times x plus 2. So when we do that, these x plus 2's cancel. Remember, you multiply what's left over. It'll be x minus 2 times 4. We'll put the 4 first. So 4 times x minus 2 plus, notice here the x minus 2's cancel. You got x plus 2 times 1. That's just x plus 2. Now be careful on the other side, the whole denominator cancels with our LCD, and you're just going to get 29. So we can distribute here. We get 4x minus 8 plus x plus 2 is 29. So all we're doing is simplifying right now. We've got a 4x and a 1x, that's 5x. Negative 8 and 2, that's minus 6. And that's equal to 29. So this is a two-step equation now. We'll add 6 to both sides. We get 5x equals 35, which means x is 7. And that wasn't one of our restricted values, so that's a perfectly good answer. All right, let's continue on. So on number 10, we've got w squared equals 1 over LC, and we're supposed to solve that for C. Let's go down just a little more. There we go. Okay, so the first thing I'm seeing is I need to clear the fractions here. The LCD is LC, so we're going to multiply each side by LC. So on the left, you're going to have LCW squared, and on the right, the LC's cancel, and you're left with just 1. So we're solving for C. That means, now notice we have L times C, and C is also times W squared. So everything's multiplied here. We can divide by L and W squared, and notice that's going to get C by itself, because these L's will cancel, and so are the W squareds. Now, of course, whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. We'll divide the right side by LW squared. And so C is equal to 1 over LW squared. All right, on B, we've got to solve 1 over x plus 1 over y equals 1 over z for y. So notice y is in the denominator of a fraction. First thing we're going to need to do here is clear these fractions. Notice x times y times z, that's going to be our LCD. We don't know what those letters represent, which numbers they are, so all we can do is multiply them. And so we're going to multiply each of these terms by x, y, z. Now when we do that, notice the x's cancel here, and you're left with yz times 1, which is yz, plus, and then you've got xyz. You can see the y's will cancel out, and you're left with xz. And then finally on the other side, the z's will cancel, and you're left with 1 times xy, or just xy. Now if I'm trying to solve for y here, notice I have y on both sides, and so I need them on the same side. I'm going to get rid of the yz here, or basically move it to the other side, by subtracting yz on both sides. So xz equals xy minus yz. So now that y is on the same side, I can get y by itself. Now it's not obvious. Some students don't see this, but this is a common factor. We can factor out a y times x minus z. And so finally, I'm able to get y by itself by dividing by x minus z. So we're going to end up with y equals xz over x minus z. I just want to point out that, sometimes students will try to do too many steps in one shot with these. In a lot of cases, it just looks like it's a guess. So it's really important that you take it step by step, and you should be able to explain how you go from one step to the next. All right, letter C, we got s is equal to the square root of a over 6, and we got to solve for a. Well, a is under a radical. We also have a fraction here, so we may have to do something with that. But right now, the only thing I can't really even get to the 6 here to clear fractions because a over 6 is under the radical. So the first thing I need to do is get rid of that radical. We're going to square both sides. So when we do that, we get s squared. Be careful, that's not a 5. On the other side, we're going to have a over 6. So now, if I'm solving for a, I need to get rid of that 6. To clear the fractions, you can see our LCD is 6. We'll multiply each side by 6. You're going to end up with 6s squared is equal to a. Or a equals 6s squared. All right, so we've solved for a. Let's move on to number 11. So here we have a profit formula here. Notice profit is revenue minus cost. And then we're going to have to look in part B. We're going to have to find the maximum profit. So first of all, we need to find the profit function. So P of x is R of x minus C of x, which is 50x minus 0.5x squared minus 10x plus 3. Notice I need the parentheses on the second binomial here. Here I'm just going to drop the parentheses so it's not as important, but we're subtracting a binomial. Each of these terms is going to be affected by the minus. So this will be 50x minus 0.5x squared minus 10x minus 3. So we're going to end up with, let's see, 50x and a minus 10x. That's going to be 40x, but let me put the minus 0.5x squared first, and then plus 40x minus 3. So that's our profit function. Now it says find the maximum profit and the number of units that must be sold in order to yield or to get the maximum profit. It does say write your answer using a complete sentence. So first of all, if you think about this, this is a parabola because of the x squared, and because of the minus out front, it's a parabola that opens down. And so we would have a maximum value at the vertex. So this is a problem where we're going to need to find the vertex to figure out what the maximum profit is. And remember, the maximum profit will be the y value of the vertex. So we have P of x is equal to negative 0.5x squared plus 40x minus 3. We need to find the vertex, so x equals negative b over 2a. Negative b, that'll be negative 40 over 2 times a, which is negative 0.5. So this will be negative 40 over negative 1, or 40. So far, we found x, which is the number of units sold. So 40 units. So what's the maximum profit, or the profit when you sell 40 units? Well, we need to find P of 40. It'll be negative 0.5 times 40 squared plus 40 times 40 minus 3. When you plug that into your calculator, you should get 797. So remember, we're supposed to write, so let's see, 797, that's our y value of the vertex. So the maximum profit is $797 when 40 units are sold. All right, that's going to be our third video, and we'll stop right there.